Hey everybody, Andy Hamilton of Trackwrestling here, joined via video conference by four-time All-American, two-time NCAA champion, 1998 Hodge Trophy winner, voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes, race car driver, Mark Ironside. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
I don't know if we're going to be able to be a race car driver this year yet or not. We're still figuring that out.
Knock on wood,
But
man.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, you were the fourth Hodge Trophy winner in the history of the award, won it, as I mentioned, in 1998. What was the significance of winning the honor then when the award was kind of in its infancy versus now? And how has your perspective on winning it changed throughout the last 22 years?
It was obviously it is still today. It's like, it's quite an honor to be able to win it and to even be nominated for that matter. It's it's the equivalent to, like, you say the Heisman Trophy in football, and it's a good pat on the back, so to speak, I guess, as an accomplishment. Different things motivate different people. I think it's something kind of like a feather in a cap, I suppose. If you win the award, and it's a big deal, and I know that Wood Magazine that created and Brian Van Clay, that's a big deal to them, and it's great for the sport of wrestling. But I think as a wrestler, and I can't speak for everybody, but I think as a wrestler, that's not like something you really, really, really set your goal on. I don't think I ever walked out onto a wrestling mat with the Dan Hodge Trophy on my mind, and that's why I wanted to dominate and get the fall or get the tech or get the major and win a bonus points. I mean, that never ever really crossed my mind as I'm warming up and ready to walk out on the mat, or as you're wrestling. I think it's like a lot of accolades that they have, and that you can get along the way. I think it's an after the fact type of thing that it's kind of cool, and down the road, so to speak, to have it, something that you'll always have. But at the same time, it just kind of gives a talking point for media as well too. Um, but it's a big deal, and this year I think it's a pretty black and white situation in that Spencer Lee. I think he, by all means, and I think everybody would pretty much agree that he's pretty much the locked, and deservingly so, to get that award.
You have the opportunity to be a voter for the Hodge as a past winner. What do you look for, in a typical year? What are characteristics you want to see in your Hodge Trophy winner?
Well, just kind of like the criteria that they go off of, undefeated records, but that's not like the main criteria for me, even though that's how it pretty much comes down to. Everybody that gets it usually is undefeated, but also bonus points is a big one. It's the most dominated wrestler in the country. The other thing is that when you look at the most dominant wrestler, you also want to look at maybe who had the toughest weight class, who wrestled the toughest matches, um, you know, who won the most who had the most falls, who most tech falls, majors, all that comes into play. But RPI also comes into play as well too, from the fact that you just want to make sure that if you're kind of contemplating, thank you, between a couple of different people, you can look at their competition schedule. And something I think that's fair to look at is when you looked on the list this year, everybody on there is undefeated, but you could also take it in you could take it to Alex Marinelli. You could, if you're going to have a list, you could have really put Alex Marinelli on there. Only losses to a two-time national champion and Vincent Joseph. Alex Marinelli had a lot of, his bonus point percentage. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely up there. And man, did he wrestle some tough guys and have a tough schedule, and still did that. And you could, look at Kemmer, you could look at Hall, and I think those guys are. Just as much, just because they had losses on the year, I don't think you just completely leave them off of the ballot, so to speak.
As I mentioned, 1998 was the year you won the Hodge. That was the first year of the transition from Dan Gable leading the Iowa wrestling program, coming off 5 NCAA champs in his final season up here in Cedar Falls, and then 1998 Jim Zaleski takes over. For you personally, individually, what put you in position that year to have a Hodge Trophy season? What What are your most vivid recollections of that season?
It was kind of a weird season, to be honest with you, just because Jimmy Zaleski was the kind of the interim coach that year. Tom Brands was still very involved. He was kind of like my personal coach, as he was throughout my whole career. Him and Terry. Gable still had some influence on things, obviously, in the room, but they hadn't named anybody. But it was just kind of a weird year that year, the way things kind of Jimmy taking over and kind of running things and so forth. And I think it was that year that McGinnis and Jeff McGinnis, Joe Williams, and I, we all three won national titles. And I think if you would have taken just pretty much, I think our 3 points alone, our not 3 points, but our combined total amount of points out of our three guys probably would have won the national championship that year. But we also had, Eric Juergens, on the team that year, and Doug Schwab, and we scored some points elsewhere as well too. But I don't know. When you get to that point in your career, when you're a senior in college, you should really kind of be self-motivated and independent enough to where you can kind of do things you feel you need and to get the job done. And every time that you step on the mat, I mean, that's your main, at least every time I step on the mat, it's like I've said before, I just think about score points and as many points as I can possibly score. There's never time for any rest on the mat. You're out there for 7 minutes. And when you think about it, 7 minutes isn't a very long time to compete when you think about all the hours you've trained that week leading up to those 7 minutes. And, obviously if it's just one dual meet, you got one match. But if it's a tournament, you got 3-4 matches in a tournament, that's a little bit more. But still, there's a lot of time spent training to be able to only go out and be able to perform for that 7-minute match. So you want to make the most of it. But I don't know, that's just how I looked at things, and just wanted to put as many points on the scoreboard as you can every single time out, be as dominant as you can. And a lot of it was kind of a mental aspect of things too. I didn't want to let anybody even close to me. It was that kind of a personal thing to me. And you can be friends off the mat or whatever, but when you're out there, I mean, I don't really look as you got a job to do, but it's almost kind of like life and death in this situation, as crazy as that kind of may seem or whatever. That's kind of how I thought about things when I went on the mat. I wanted to go out and I wanted to destroy, my opponent. And that's just kind of how, I was wired, and honestly, I'm still kind of wired, not still, but pretty much still wired that way. It's just the way that I was brought up, is the way that, I grew up watching, Iowa wrestling and Dan Gable be successful as he was. Grew up watching in the era of Tom and Terry Brand step on the mat every time as ferocious as they were. And to be able to see that, I mean, I still have my own style. Everybody's got, their own style, their own uniqueness to them. But you basically can all have the same philosophy and goals in mind, and has to be as dominant as possible. Nobody wants to go out and watch someone just wrestle a 2-3 match, 1-2 match, and just get one takedown and skirt on that takedown. There's some fantastic matches out there that are only 2-3, and they're fantastic matches, but the majority of them that are really low scoring, they're just boring to watch, and that's not doing anything for the sport of wrestling.
You were known for your pace. What did it take to get yourself in position to wrestle a super high pace?
You mean from a training perspective?
Yeah, yep. Training, both physical training and mental training.
I think the mental training, it's just something that you're kind of born with. But I think it can also be implemented as well too. I think, again, I just go back to kind of my upbringing, kind of how my dad, mom raised me as far as the mental aspect of things. And my dad wasn't a wrestler, but he got on my butt about a lot of different things, and he didn't care really what I did. Just as long as I did it, I had to give 110% at it, and that's all he really cared. As far as the training aspect of it, if you want to be good, you want to be dominant, you're going to do extra things to make yourself great, and to be able to be in condition to be able to wrestle that hard for a full 7-minute match. But the thing is what people don't realize is the more dominant you are, you're going to be in better position when you wrestle. And if you're in a better position when you wrestle, then you're not going to be expending as much energy while you're competing. And, you know, so the better you get, the less energy that you're really using out there. Now, for me, early on in my career, I got behind in a lot of matches, and I was out of position a lot, and you know, kind of had to fight through certain things. And a good thing I was in really, really good tip-top shape. But as I got older, you know, sophomore into junior year especially, that's when things, you know, I started getting a lot better at my techniques and staying in a better position. And obviously you're going to score more points, you're going to have quicker finishes, you know, but you're not going to get near as tired. The other thing was I benefit a lot from being in the Iowa wrestling room and the workout partners that I had every day, and not just the workout partners, but how hard we pushed each other. I mean, you could be wrestling another great wrestler in the room, but you just kind of just stand around hand fighting, not doing a lot. You know, when we were in the room, I mean, we got after it. I mean, the fur was flying every single day, and you just learn to push yourself, you know, a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, and you know, when neither guy, you know, wants to break, if you're doing that on a consistent basis every single day, you can't but happen to be in phenomenal shape. So you get out of it what you put into it, as they say.
In a typical year, this week right now would probably be an evaluation period for wrestlers and coaches, kind of reflect and evaluate what went right, what went wrong. What went into self-evaluation for you, and how valuable was that for your development?
Well, I think the whole season doesn't ride on the last tournament of the year, but the last tournament of the year is the most important tournament of the year. And so you kind of have to reflect upon how you finished. You know, they always say it's not where you start, it's where you finished. And I just knew that early on in my career, especially my freshman year, I needed to get better on the bottom. I mean, that's something I really, really needed to work hard at, was in my you know, bottom skills. And then going into my sophomore year, really, really working on finishing shots. That was really key. And then junior year, I think I really worked on adding more to my arsenal. You know, not just right-handed shots, left-handed shots, not just singles, doubles, developing the low single in there as well too. Just being versatile from, you know, lots of different areas. And be able to attack from a lot of these different areas and being versatile there. So as the older I got, you know, you started kind of ground zeros where you need to be able to get out from the bottom. That's the biggest area I had to work. And then you go work on the finishing aspect of things. The better you're at finishing, the more takedowns you're going to get. And then just start adding more things to your arsenal. And I think it's good to be versatile, and not the really good wrestlers, you know, they can score from so many different positions. And that's one thing I don't think that Tom Brands especially does not get enough credit for. You know, everybody looks at Tom and Terry Brands, just how, you know, ferocious they were on the mat, and, you know, how aggressive their pace was, and how aggressive that they were, and how, you know, much they attacked, and in-your-face type of wrestling. But especially Tom, they don't give him enough credit for how versatile he was and the arsenal that he had, and from all the different positions that he could score from, and just an absolutely incredible scrambler. And lots of times put himself in positions where he wasn't really going to score maybe on a specific shot, but it put himself in a position to be able to scramble and then to create something from there, and then came out on top. And I just don't think sometimes they get enough credit for that, and Terry as well too, but I think Tom even more so. And there's just a lot to be said for that.
As I mentioned at the top, you're the color commentary guy on Iowa Wrestling Radio. You wrestled on 4 NCAA championship teams for the Hawkeyes. What characteristics did you see in this team? What does this team share maybe with some of those championship teams you were a part of?
You know, it's hard to even talk about this year's team just because they did not get just like I mentioned earlier, you know, they didn't get to finish what they started. And I'm not just talking about the starters either. I'm not talking about the 10 guys, you know, from 125 through heavyweight. I'm talking about, you know, everybody else in the room, but even especially the seniors that, you know, didn't get a chance to compete, but are part of the team. And they've been in that room every day for 4 years, and 5 years, some of them, and wanted to be, you know, get that national championship ring. They wanted to see their teammates that they worked with side by side for all these years to be able to win a national championship individually and as a team. And that's what's really, really hard. And it's really sad about this whole entire situation. And you can go down the line. It's not just people in the room that are on the team or the coaches, but it's also some of the other staff members and people that are part of the program that have been there for a long time and never been a part of a national championship program. And there's so many people that put into so much time and effort into something like that, and not being able to finish it just is such a it's sad. It's very unfortunate, and it's just something that it's kind of surreal, and you just don't understand how you could even I just feel like I feel like almost like I'm in the Groundhog Day movie. Every day you wake up and it's just the same thing, and this can't be real, and this isn't happening. But to compare our teams to the team this year up to this point, this team had everything that it needed to be and make a special team, and definitely a serious run at winning a national championship and doing it, which is even more so exciting in a dominant fashion. And I think you saw that throughout the season, but you also saw it at the Big Ten championships this year as well too.
Go back to the peak of your competitive days, high school, college, post-college. What would Mark Ironside be doing, given the current situation? What would you be doing to make sure you're getting better, given the restrictions that are in place right now with the COVID-19 virus?
Well, it's hard. It's hard for me to answer that truthfully and honestly because, one, I've never truly been in that position, even though I was an athlete and I've done, competed at that level. But they've never been in a position where you literally can't even get into a wrestling room. As crazy as that sounds. I mean, what do you want to do? You want to get back to the wrestling room. You want to get back to basically your domain, your home, where your go-to place where you feel most comfortable, and you can't be there. And that's just the mind-blowing thing is you can't even isolate yourself in a position where if you're ever going to be isolated, this is where you want to be. You can't do it, so you want to move past this and move on and start building for the future. But yet at the same time, you can't even get into the room to do so. So with that being said, I mean, it's a situation where people are going to have to get creative. I wish the weather would kind of start turning nice, at least here in Iowa, to where people can get outside a lot more, which you can now. But turn a grass park into a wrestling mat. Get your teammates and get your workout partners. Go outside, do hand fighting and drill shots, take shots. Work on your bottom position. There's a lot to be said that you can do, even though you don't have a wrestling mat. You can do it outside. And like I said, you just got to be creative and figure things out, and going for runs and going for hikes and doing buddy carries. On certain hills, and going to finding a good tree limb to do your pull-ups, and you could go on and on and on things that you could do to be creative to get good workouts in and still improving and building for the future. And that's honestly probably what I would be doing. I tell you right now, I would not be doing is sitting inside of a house and quarantining myself inside of a house doing nothing besides going stir crazy. There's no possible way that would even be humanly possible for me. You got to get outside and get fresh air. Plus, that's good for your immune system anyway. And figure out ways to take your mind off of certain things and focus on other things and focus on the positive things and what you're good with and what you're good at, and start building. And when the time comes and you're ready to get back into a wrestling room, you haven't just sat on your tail for a month or 2 months or however heck long this is going to last, and you haven't really missed a lot, and if anything, you've gained on the situation, and you're more ready to go than what you were before.
You've got your apparel business. What drove you into the apparel business?
When I stopped competing in 2000, it just is something that just happened to come up, a job that happened to come up, and so I took it. It was a local job. I knew a lot of people, and obviously in the area, everybody needs shirts. It was something shirts are easy to sell. I had a good nucleus of people that I knew in the area, so I took a sales position for a company where I ended up being at for 5.5 years, and then left and just wanted to do it on my own and kind of run my own business and kind of be independent with it, and started it out of my basement for 1.5 years, and and then went to a warehouse for a few years, and then bought a lot, built a building, and it just kept growing it from there on out. And then this past October opened up a second location as well too. So it's just kind of steadily been growing over the years since I think 2007 is when I went out on my own.
So on social media here this week, it's starting to get out there a little bit. The T-shirt that you've printed up, can you share, what that T-shirt, the story behind that T-shirt, what it's all about, the message? Maybe give us a look at it if you got one there.
I do have one right here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but
oh yeah,
there's this shirt right there. So basically, what it is it's a rainbow of colors, and the colors of that rainbow are the Olympic ring colors. And it's got some sayings on there that I kind of live by and that I like, and just I've familiarized myself with on a regular basis. And at the beginning of the rainbow it says wrestling, and at the other end of the rainbow it has a picture of an NCAA championship wrestling trophy with some wrestling shoes and so forth or whatever. And then that's kind of like the pot of gold at the end, at least at the collegiate level, that they were never able to get to this year, unfortunately. And then in order to kind of get there, it's like, this whole wrestling world is just crushed. I mean, it's not just, the University of Iowa wrestling team or coaches, but it's everybody involved, and it's at all levels. Luckily that, at the kids level and the high school level, everybody got their stuff in. At the college levels where it was hit the hardest and hit the most in divisions 1, 2, and 3. And now even so, and that's why I use the Olympic colors too, even at the world level, the Olympics getting postponed. And it's not easy for some of these guys. I mean, take a look at like Jordan Burroughs. That's one more year that, out of his life that, he's going to have to train his tail off, and he was peaking for this, and this might have been his last one, trying to make some history, and that's a whole nother year, and he's not getting any younger. And you can kind of go up and down the lineup of all sorts of guys. It's just an unfortunate situation, but everybody's in the same boat. We put the word unite on here. Unite's a 5-letter word, and there's 5 colors in Olympic rings, and we just have to unite together, know that we're all together, even though we're competitors on the mat, off the mat. It's kind of like a brotherhood, and all coaches, athletes are all the same, and they're in it for, majority of them are in it for the right reasons. And it doesn't really matter, like I said in a press release for this, it doesn't really matter what age you are, whether you're kindergarten all the way up through the Olympic level. It doesn't matter your gender, male, female. It doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter what stinking brand of wrestling shoes you wear. It doesn't matter that everybody's in this together, and we have to unite together and bounce ideas off each other and find ways, to kind of get through this downtime that's unprecedented before. We've never been in this situation before, and kind of lean on each other through this tough time, and to be able to rise above it till we compete again.
Where can people get the shirt, Mark?
You can get it online at Iowa Style Apparel. It's the name of my store, is Iowa Style Apparel. Just iowastyleapparel.com. It's right on the home page. It's a really nice, soft Bella canvas type shirt. It's really cool. It's really colorful. You probably obviously can't tell by looking at it on the screen right there, but the detail in that it turned out really, really good. The process that we used to print it. But if you go to iowastyleapparel.com, you can find it on there. And just so I can read just some of the quotes, like in the blue line, it is adversity is a bump in the road on the way to success. And then it's got in the gold line, it's got the famous Gable quote, which is, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. And then in the black line right in the middle, it's God, family, and wrestling. And then in the green rainbow colors, together we stand. And then in the red one is something that I really live by quite a bit, and it's tough times go away, tough people don't. And everybody's going to be faced with tough times, and that's the thing about wrestlers and the sport of wrestling is I feel that we're a lot tougher than most just from the grind that we go through on a regular basis through our lives, and we can overcome things a lot easier than your general public out there, as well as other athletes and other sports. And that kind of goes back to Gable's saying is, once you've wrestled, everything in life is easy. And it may not be easy, but it's definitely easier, and we definitely have an upper hand. There's no doubt about it.
As I mentioned, your job with the radio. You also do the Iowa State High School finals on TV. You've been doing those for probably close to a decade now or more. And the Hawkeyes just got a commitment from national number one Drake Ayala. You've had a chance to watch him. What do you like about him? What are the characteristics you see in him that make you optimistic he's going to have success in college?
I think he's going to be a stud in college. That was a huge, huge recruit for Iowa to get. I think Drake Ayala's definitely made the right choice for lots of different reasons. I think that he's going to be very happy at the University of Iowa. I think he fits the mold of what we have going on at the University of Iowa right now. He's going to fit in perfectly with this team that we have, his personality. He's an extremely smart kid. He does really, really well in school. He's a student of the sport. And that's what I really like probably about him more so is it's just when I sit back and I watch him, and just watching him warm up and drill. Not really wrestling. I mean, he kicks the crap out of everybody he wrestles, and he can score from so many different positions. But when he's drilling, just the way that he's moving his hands and moving his feet simultaneously, and the way he's cutting corners, it's something. He's at a level that a lot of college guys aren't even at yet. And the thing is he's like a sponge right now, and he's so eager to learn more and more and more, and to be able to get to that next level. I think you're going to see him do it at a pretty fast rate, and he's going to be in a really good position going into the room with the likes of Spencer Lee as a workout partner, and Thomas Gilman in there, and Corey Clark in there, Austin DeSanto in there, transfer from Pennsylvania, Teasdale in there. He's got a great nucleus of workout partners around his size, and obviously you throw Terry Brands in there at the mix as a coach, and he's in a really, really good place, and I think he's going to get awfully good, awfully quick for that next level.
Hey, before we cut you loose, one final question. You mentioned hoping to get out there on the racetrack sometime this summer. Can you describe the thrill of being behind the wheel of a late model in a race at Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids versus being out there in front of 15,000 in Carver Hawkeye Arena? How do they compare? What are the similarities, and how does this keep the competitive juices going for you?
It's kind of a lot. There's a lot of similarities, but there's some differences, and I'll say that I'm more nervous for racing, or used to be when I first started, to get behind the wheel in a big race than I ever was for probably any wrestling match. In wrestling, I mean, you can train in the room every single day. I mean, you train and train and train, you wrestle, you practice, and you prepare yourself. There's so many ways to prepare yourself to step out on the mat. Even though when you step out on the mat, it can definitely be nerve-wracking, especially at a high level once you're new to it and so forth. But whereas racing, you don't get a chance to practice all that much. If you do, you got to rent the track for practice time, and then when you do practice, you don't get out there and practice with 15 to 20 other cars all around you side by side. So when you go out on that track for the actual races in a live situation, it's more nerve-wracking just because you haven't been in that position and be able to train for it in a live situation, so to speak, on a regular basis. So to me, it's a lot more nerve-wracking. I mean, I was way more nervous, especially when I first started, than I ever was for a wrestling match. And frankly, just because you can't wrestle, you can't compete, on a racetrack every single day, and it's just not that easy with other cars around you like you can in a wrestling room, in a practice room, where you're scrapping every single day. That's the differences. But it's a ton of fun. The more I do it, the more comfortable I get. And still am, looking forward to a great late model season this year. The car was phenomenal last year. Really, really stepped up, improved on my times. And then it got into an accident. Nothing due to me. It wasn't my fault. Just got collected in an accident and totaled the car, and basically had to spend the whole summer last year and the winter rebuilding the car. So we've got it all back together, all ramped up, ready to go, and just hoping this COVID thing here passes over pretty soon. Things start kind of decreasing a little bit, the cases, and we can start getting back to some normalcy and have a racing season.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoping to see you down at Hawkeye Downs. We're going to make it down there this summer, we promise.
You
And
need to, if you can. You and Clayman have to come down. We're gonna get you in the pits. I'll give you our air gun. You can change some tires. We'll put you to work. Okay. Well, you can be our tire guy. Work on the tire pressures. So
does the
yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
does the invitation still stand to get behind the wheel of your legend car?
The legend car, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes,
All right.
not the late model, but the late model track. That's you're going a lot faster, and it's got walls. The quarter-mile track where the legend cars run, there's no walls, so you can't really mess anything up out there.
Good deal. Well, hey, Mark, thanks so much for the time. Greatly appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me on. It's always good talking to you, Annie. Thanks for everything you do for the sport wrestling, and you and Kyle keep up the awesome work that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, see you, buddy.